Bam. We are live. As usual, if you're watching this later, I'll put the timestamp for when it starts in the description, or you can just scan forward and find the intro. It'll probably be like 5 minutes. I just want to get people in before we start this thing. And I would edit this part out, but it takes my computer a crazy long time to compile the video. So maybe I'll start doing that soon, but not right now. 2 people watching. One of them is me. And I'm just going to copy the link onto Twitter. Get it going. Gonna drop the picture in. We got the fancy new graphic on Twitter. That's how you know it's legit. A legit show, a legit operation. I can never find it in this folder. Ah, here we go. Is anyone here yet? Yeah! Bell Gang, what's up? Okay, I'm just gonna post this and we can talk for a minute. We'll let some people come in and then we'll get it going. I have to like read the tweet and just make sure and spell check it, because one time I misspelled the name of the show and I felt like kind of wasn't the best look. Boom. All right, it's tweeted. We can chill for a second. How's the transition into summer been? It's been pretty good, man. To be completely honest with you, I feel like I've just been straight up working the whole time we've been quarantined. So maybe whenever summer started, I had the realization. I went outside and I was like, oh, it's summer. And then I was like, oh, I've literally been inside for the entirety of spring. I have been inside for all of spring. And it was kind of a disturbing realization in a way, but it's cool. It's going well. The other annoying thing about it, the fact that it's summer now, is that I really like wearing dress shirts. I guess that's kind of weird because I'm here by myself, but I like wearing dress shirts, and like I dress nicely when I come like to work here. Actually, it's real work, so whatever. But I like wearing nice clothes, but when it's summer, it's just too hot, man. So I can't like wear like the dress shirt and like dress pants that I like to wear. So kind of messes up my fashion game, which I know is like a really serious problem, obviously. Army has us locked up in single quarters isolation for 14 days. This is going to be the highlight of each respective week. Nice. That's awesome that this is the highlight, but that's brutal. So you guys are alone? You guys are alone for 14 days straight in like personal isolation? I mean, I guess the reason for that is obvious, right? They figure you like contracted like coronavirus or something, maybe out in the field. That's brutal though. I feel like I've just been reading the whole time. Yeah, I started a book right when coronavirus started, but I haven't even finished it because I've just been like, whenever I start reading, it really delays my like working. Like I have no sense of like propriety at all in terms of how I spend my time. Like either I'm 100% doing one thing or 100% doing another thing. So whenever I start reading a book, I'm like, oh, I should just blow off my work for the next 2 or 3 days and like pound out this book, and I just like can't do that right now. Damn, they bring you meals 3 times a day. Yo, that's crazy actually, man. Honestly, you know, you're also reminding me, I've mentioned this before, but like I just wonder how, like people like, you know, not to be like pretentious, but people kind of like us, you know, like I feel like anyone in the sphere in any way has kind of like a overly mental, I'm in my head a little bit too much kind of thing going on. So I feel like quarantine, we're at least like kind of like designed to survive it. But for like normal people, dude, I literally have no idea how they deal with just being isolated so long. Like, how do they do it, man? Like, all the other normal people around you, like, I have no idea. They want us to be ready to be able to deploy up north to help indigenous communities, and they don't want us spreading it. Whoa. That's crazy. Yo, I bet that's nuts, actually. If you get any cool, like, crazy tales and stuff, let me know. I mean, that would be sick. I mean, not that I'm, like, asking for, like, weird information, but I mean, who knows what it's going to be like there. That's pretty cool. It's cool that you're doing that, I guess. Call-in show. Yeah, so call-in show, so it's not like I'm literally going to be taking callers. We did this last month. Basically what it is I take, so normally if you're here, you've probably seen my images before. I take, instead of like, having some plan for like the symbols and like what the painting is going to be, I take it entirely from the chat. Last time it was pretty dope. We got this like octopus thing going on last time, so that's what I mean by call-in show. So we'll chill. So because of that, because the way this episode works is that I take direction from the chat, we're just going to hang for like a minute because we need like a good amount of people in. I mean, the amount of people here right now is actually probably fine. I mean, it's not fine. It's great. It's very flattering. But we'll just hang for like a minute and get like a few more people in, and then we'll start this thing. Also, I feel like, now that I've been planning the shows out more, I don't really like hang out in the chat and like talk to you guys as much, which is kind of lame. Canadian, what's up, Owen? Chillin', man. 5G Corona conspiracies and AstroTurf discredit valid health concerns about 5G. Yeah, probably. Honestly, yeah, that sounds pretty legit. Lawnmower time? Yeah, I might close the window. Normally we get bird style, but I'm going to close this. It's really funny because, I can't say too much about where I live, but there's just this like massive field off to the right of my house that just like goes on like almost like indefinitely. And you could hear the lawnmower when the window's open. This guy just like rides this mower around and kind of like arbitrarily mows these like large patches of it and leaves like other patches like unmowed, and I always feel like he's just must like, be trying to get out of his house or something, or just trying to like blow off some steam, like rolling around in this field. Gonna cross-reference some books again. Yeah. So yeah, I'm thinking that's how we'll do the like taking symbols from the chat situation. I actually got a bunch here. I got basically the standard arsenal. That's what we'll do. We'll go over the books right now, and then we'll get it going. So got kind of the standard arsenal in case anyone hasn't seen it before, but we'll just go over it quickly because I'm not going to like take time to introduce it while we're doing this thing. Book of Symbols. This is pretty much like if there was a pyramid of like books about symbolism that I had, this would be like the bottom layer, like that fat layer at the bottom of the pyramid. It's really dope. This is pretty it's pretty much a Jungian symbol dictionary, so it's good in that way if that's what you're looking for. It's just like a generic, not in a bad way generic, but survey of like different symbols and stuff like that. It usually has pretty dope pictures. So if someone says something that I think will be in there, we'll go in there. This would be like the Christian one. It's not Bible art, but it's Renaissance art, just to be clear. So it's like a little bit different. The name, I've said this before whenever I show this, but the name really should be Signs and Symbols in Renaissance Christian Art, but whatever, it doesn't really matter. This book is really, really, really dope. This will equip you to read like Renaissance art, and also it's really good for inspiration too. Something they say in this book is that the Renaissance art aesthetic, the reason it has this like eternality, I don't know if that's a real word, but it has this like eternal flavor to it, is because it's a total crystallization of Western man's mystical and spiritual experience and his religious experience. It's like perfectly cohesed as this like complete matrix in like the symbolism of Renaissance art. And I definitely think that's true. So this is a pretty cool book. It has what you would expect, and like, so it's more Renaissance art and stuff. So something like, subway or a cockroach or bat. Maybe bat's not even in here. Just like common themes in Renaissance art. Got this one. I've shown this one before too. This is kind of like the catch-all. This is kind of like a. This makes me think of like a weird friend or something. Each entry is just like entries about little different cultures and stuff like that. And then I got one more. I don't know if we'll actually bust this out. After this, I'll scope the chat and then we'll press start and we'll get this thing going. But I got this book. I think I plugged it last week. I did plug it last week, but I've been working with it a little bit and it's pretty cool. Dictionary of Bible types, so like what different things mean when you're reflecting the New Testament back onto the Old Testament. I mean, look, isn't this just a good time? You guys read this? Yeah, you can actually. The camera's nice and focused. So I just opened to a random page. Cinnamon. This is typical of the delightful fragrance of the life of Christ before his Father. Okay. Proverbs. This is typical of the enticements and allurements of sin. Wow, it's pretty contradictory, bro. Pretty contradictory entry there. I'm not really sure what to think about cinnamon after reading that. But yeah, so I've been working with that too. And I'll plug one random book. In case anyone's looking for like random books to get, I I just thought, I would maybe grab like a random book off my shelf each week. I was tweeting about fractals this week. This has nothing to do with like the books I was just showing you, but this book's actually pretty cool. If anyone doesn't know anything about fractals like at all, this is a really good intro. It has a lot of pictures in it, which obviously you need for fractals. If you don't know what fractals are, it's basically any like self-similar structure. It's kind of a weird intersection of like math and art and science. Actually, it's pretty much like exactly right at that intersection. So it's pretty cool. The book basically follows this guy named Benoit Mandelbrot, who kind of is the first person who like articulated fractals and what they are and how they apply to different things. If you have no idea what I'm talking about right now, actually a perfect example of what a fractal is a cauliflower. If you have a cauliflower, if you break off one tiny piece of the cauliflower, it looks like the whole cauliflower, right, if you scaled it up. That's basically like what fractals are, and this is a really cool book. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, this is a good book so you can know what fractals are. It's kind of a cool design thing. But we're not talking about that tonight. I should do a fractal episode, though. That would be sick. I used to go hard on like fractals in my art. All right, let's go up the chat, and then we're going to get it going. Is it really 7 a.m. where you are? Where are you? Like in Asia or something? Because he's mowing. That's funny, actually. Bird time, epic, 5G. Yeah, we can talk about that. What's the symbolism of a dingo? Yo, that's a really good question, actually. There's nothing in those books about it for sure, but probably something to do with the fact that it's like feral. I don't totally know, but I'm pretty sure dingoes were like released domesticated dogs that became feral again. So it must have something to do with that. And they're kind of in a weird spot where they're like definitely not domesticated, right? But they're also, they live like, there's a special word for it, like communalism, where like two species share the same area, but just kind of like share the same area. So that's like what they are with humans there in Australia. So probably something to do with the fact that they're like rewilded. It's pretty rare for an animal to be like rewilded like that, I think. Okay. Great question to transition us into the show. It's going down right now, right about now. Oh my God, I pressed the wrong button again. Round 2. All right, what is up, everyone? So yeah, this is kind of like if there was like a casual Friday part of the show, that would be this. So last month, so in case you don't know, in case you're just checking this out for the first time or something like that, or you didn't see the one time we did this otherwise, last month, at the end of the month, I did an episode where I kind of just explained this, but I'll just go through it quickly. Instead of having something planned out, instead of just winging it on my own, I took symbols from the chat. So basically whatever I was painting, I was looking at the chat and just like drawing things out of the chat and talking about like the symbolism of what people were saying and stuff like that. Kind of just like organically and like I suppose you could say somewhat randomly, like building a picture that way. And it was really awesome. It came out really dope and it was really fun. And I wanted to kind of integrate that into the regular like schedule of things, I guess you could say. Especially because now with season 2, it's official. I'm kind of planning things out more, and I have more of like an arc of like, here's what I want to talk about. I want to make sure I hit these things, which means I'm not like aggressively hanging out in the chat with people. So yeah, I thought we could take the last week of each month, that's right now, and do that. So the plan right now, in case you want to start thinking of stuff, is that I'm going to be looking at the chat, and if you want to tell me like anything, I will work it into the picture, and that's basically how we'll do it. It kind of goes naturally. I'm just going to start throwing down the frame and stuff like that. Kind of goes naturally with the way I've been working, especially recently, because sometimes how I describe my pictures is kind of like just the symbolic, sounds kind of pretentious, but it's my show, so I don't really care. Kind of like a symbolic like tapestry is the way I would describe it. Sort of like how in like a poem or like in a piece of literature or even in a movie or really actually even in any work of art that has any visual component, even if it's words, which are kind of visual in a weird way. Just certain symbols like being near each other and being around each other starts to like build up this sort of like abstract like meaning. Like I'm sure some of you can think of like song lyrics or a poem or something where it's not like directly what I would describe as like straight up like linear information. Like this song is about a guy named Johnny who killed his wife and rode the rails for 35 years. Usually it's more just like abstract of like different scenes or vignettes or things juxtaposed that kind of gives you more of like a non-linear informational takeaway. So that's what we're going to do right now. And I'm just going to lay this out. And then honestly, I kind of just want to like jump in. I know there's like a little bit of a delay between me talking in the chat, but it's not that much. It might be like 10 seconds or so. So yeah, what we did last time is people just started throwing stuff out, and I have these books here in case you didn't just see the pre-intro intro, where if I think it'll be in here, if I think it'll be interesting, I'll look it up and we can kind of like talk about it. So it's sort of like symbolic exploration, taking things from the chat, building it together, teamwork, casual Friday. It's all those themes rolled into one. Also, last thing before we get started is I forgot the intro music, Painted Worlds. Check it out, Painted Worlds on Bandcamp, Spotify, Painting Show, Painted Worlds. Easy to remember. Check it out. He didn't ask me to make that plug every time, but I like to. It's dope. We can all plug each other's stuff, uplift each other, make it all happen together. So yeah, I kind of just want to jump in. So here's the thing also. If you want to say anything to me, so I'm going to be looking at the chat and like taking it. It's like last time someone said like an octopus and we got an octopus going, and then they were like a monkey and we put a monkey in, and then we started building, like someone said a city, and then we kind of like built it that way. So I don't really have a plan. Obviously I have no plan actually, but that's kind of what I'm going for. But if you want me to see what you say in the chat, you have to put at Owen Cyclops. So you can see Redland 3000 a little bit back in the chat said, what's the symbolism of a dingo? And you put at Owen Cyclops. That means I see it. Otherwise, I'm probably not going to see it because I have to like totally derail my train of thought to like read everyone's interactions with each other and find someone talking to me. So if you put at Owen Cyclops, it's like highlighted red, orange, and then I see it. And that's how this will all work basically. So if people want to start kind of like throwing stuff out at me, we can just get it going right now. I'm excited. It's kind of fun not knowing how it's going to go. I kind of missed that element once I started like hardcore planning it out. So let's just get it going right now. Beetle? Beetles are cool and kind of summery. Yeah, dude, that's exactly how we're going to start. So we'll start with Beetle. And actually, it's kind of an interesting one for me because I don't know if Beetle is going to be in this book. But let's just find out right now. I mean, there's Spider. I opened up to the Spider page. But let's see if Beetle is in here. I do like using beetles in my artwork sometimes. Cockroach is kind of like a beetle. Look how creepy this is. Someone made this art of like hanging cockroaches. No one likes that. Nobody likes that. Let's see. There are two beetles that I often use in my art. I often use a ladybug or a firefly, and I think those are really dope. Beetle might not be in here though. It's not a big deal. If it is, well, Scarab. Scarab might be as close as we're going to get to a beetle. But let's see. If we can't find straight up beetle, yeah, we're not. All right, so let's look up Scarab and then we'll roll with it. Maybe we'll use this kind of beetle. I mean, I don't know. It's kind of Egyptian, but not really. Let's just check it out. Though scarab applies to a whole family of stout-bodied beetles, it is the Scarabus sasser, the dung beetle of the western desert, that has so captured the mythopoetic imagination. Nice, mythopoetic. Great plug. This sacred scarab embodies the Egyptian god Khepri, who propels the sun out of the darkness of the underworld and across the sky in its diurnal journey. Here, an illustration from the Egyptian Book of the Dead, Khepri encompasses the sun rising out of the night sea. Shu, the god of air, supports the solar bark. All right, let's see if there's any not Egyptian stuff here. I mean, I'm down. That's tight. Let's read. We'll read one or two more paragraphs, and then we'll keep it moving. The dung beetle has the remarkable instinct of rolling balls of animal dung along the ground to its underground cache, where the dung will be stored for food. Unlike the images of the scarab, however, it is not its front legs, but its feathery-looking hind legs, with which the beetle rolls the balls of dung. The ball is sometimes so large that the beetle is forced into an almost vertical position. Yet persistent and resolute, the scarab managed to negotiate obstacles out of its way. I actually never realized that a scarab is a dung beetle. Did everyone know that? I didn't know that, actually. Let's check out the end. So much did the scarab evoke the qualities of immortality, sublimation, and transcendence that its dwelling, a subterranean vertical shaft leading to a horizontal passage, may have been imitated in the architecture of Egyptian tombs. It's pretty sick, actually. Hundreds of thousands of scarab amulets were crafted in Egypt out of precious and semi-precious stones, metal, and glass. All right, this is a good start. Let's start with that. Let's kind of, we'll kind of use a beetle, and I guess it'll, I don't know if we should go full scarab. I can't really tell, honestly. Maybe we should, though. I don't think I've ever really painted one of those before, but let's just go with it. We'll go with kind of a generic beetle, but maybe it'll be hinting at like a scarab. And I guess, like you said, we should go with the summer energy, so I am going to go with the green. I haven't seen a beetle in a while, but it'll be a good start. Stag beetle? Yeah, that's the team effort right there. That's definitely what we'll do. So we'll start with the kind of stag beetle down here. I feel like that has more of like a symbolic meaning because it has that big like puncher thing. So it's more like masculine and like overtly like a symbol of strength. And I'm not even going to pencil it in. Let's just go for it. I'm kind of torn between blue and green, but since we're keeping it casual, I want to do stuff I don't normally do. So let's get a blue-green in here. And yeah, mention it in there. I don't know how much you guys go to museums and stuff like that, but it's something I definitely encourage if you're able to. And at a lot of museums, the Egyptian collection of the Egyptian scarab amulets is insane. There's literally like hundreds and hundreds of thousands of them just like laid out in these like vaults and cases and stuff sometimes. I'm going to use this Prussian blue. I never really use this color. It's a very like chemical blue, but actually it's perfect for this because there's an Egyptian material. I don't think we're going to go like full Egyptian, but you know, it was kind of just the jumping off point, I guess. There's this Egyptian material called faience. I don't know if that's how you say it or not because I read about it in a book. It's called faience, and I'm pretty sure they made it from like burning quartz or something. Like they would take quartz and somehow like make it into this glaze, and it's this hyper, let's see if I can get the color. It's a little bit, it's almost, can you see? Yeah, you can actually. It's almost like this very chemically blue. It's almost like this Prussian blue. Normally I don't use it because I've kind of calibrated my palette to be a little bit more medieval, and I never really know what this like chemical, like dark blue is going to do, but for our purposes right now, I think this will be fine. And you can kind of see it a little bit, but not really. You can kind of see it when it's transparent and the light is kicking up through here. But just so we can see the character of the color a little bit more, I'm going to put in some white. I don't think a stag beetle is actually blue, but you know, whatever. I think it'll be fine for this. I'm not going to take the time to look it up right now. Boom. So we'll just take a little bit here. It's also interesting that the book kicked us off in kind of like an ancient religion direction. Yeah, it's pretty good. It's a little bit more gray than I thought it would be actually, but I think it's good. Kind of an ancient religion direction because I have been looking into, you know, certain early saints like Justin Martyr. Pretty sure Augustine has something like this too. Talk about like how the pagan religions had some like reflection of like the Christian truth in them, which I think is like really interesting. Not that they, you know, fully figured it out obviously, but I guess if you were being charitable, you could say they kind of got like as close as they could. I think that's really cool and interesting. And somehow like the Egyptian religion, I feel like has a unique kind of relationship going on there. Let's see, what size weapon am I looking for? I'm looking at my arsenal right now. I feel like we should just go with this one. It's a little big. You know, actually I found this brush today. I haven't used this on the show before. Of course, to you, it just looks like another brush, but whatever. It's a little bit nicer than that bigger one, so let's try this one out. If you go to buy brushes ever, the short handles means they're watercolor brushes, so you can see that that's what this one is made for. And let's just start in with this kind of light gray blue. Just kind of want to go quickly. It's really easy for me to get like sucked in and like, you know, I could spend like 20 minutes painting a beetle right now, but I don't want to do that. And I'm going to put it low enough that we could put something else below it if we want to, but not too low. So let's put it right here. And I feel like for a beetle, we should kind of just get that like lumpy head. They kind of have like a lump head, right? We'll just paint this in. We'll have to go back and like paint in like the shine or something. The shine is really what makes it like beetle style. And then we'll give it darker wings. I'm just going to go right in here and grab this dark color. Yeah. Perfect. And I'm going to come down. It's probably not really going to look like a perfect beetle because I haven't seen a beetle in like a really long time, but it'll be okay. I'm just going to get the one side coming in here. Get the other side coming down here. Perfect. Cool. And what the beetle always makes me think of is also like cicadas. I know it's not technically a beetle, but like the underground, living, like emerging from the earth situation. When I come back and put in a shine and stuff, it'll look more like a beetle. Could make it holding like a disc or something like that. We could play into like the slightly Egyptian vibe. I don't know how hard we're trying to go on that, but... Or maybe since it's down in the bottom, the beetle will be like stuck in like darkness or something. Like it'll be like the darkness of like before the revelation. Cool. And I'm gonna come back in and outline it. I know it doesn't look like a beetle yet, but I'm gonna get there right now with this dark color. So I'm gonna come up here. Put this in here. It could be even like the underworld. Like we could put some symbols around it that put it like down in like the underworld of like the human experience. Come around here. Boom. Really quickly. Come down on the sides. And I think the legs are what it's really going to make it look like a beetle. The bugs often don't really look like anything until you give them those fat like bug legs. Which is what I'm going to do right now. And normally they're built kind of like this. You want to get like a big like chunk, and then it kind of comes up. Yeah. Boom. Same deal. It's kind of like the thigh, and then like the thin part of the leg. It's kind of how I think of it. We'll go one more. Nice. I had to kind of play up the legs because I was worried it wasn't going to look like a beetle. Sometimes I make them kind of subtle, but for this one I was like, all right, we need the big legs. And yeah, people are saying stag beetle. Let's get that like stag horn in. I don't know what they do with this. I imagine they fight with it or something. Boom. It almost looks like a whale tail, right? Kind of comes up. Perfect. I don't know if that's exactly what it looks like, but I say this a lot. I'm always going for kind of the medieval painting of animals thing, where like the guy maybe didn't know exactly what the animal looked like, so it's fine. And we could put something up here in this like stag frontal pokey part. I will come back. Maybe I'll just do it really quick actually, and put the shines in. Blue is also color of Virgin Mary. Yeah, it's true. But when I do the Virgin Mary blue, I use a different blue, actually. I use this, like, cobalt blue. It's like, really, the blue that I use, it's like lapis lazuli blue. That's, like, how I think of it. That's how I kind of distinguish, like, Virgin Mary color from the other colors. I'm just going to put this little shine in. I want to make sure it's, like, a shiny beetle. Yeah. Boom. But yeah, I've been using a lot of blue. I actually have these ink drawings that I'm going to release soon that are these like Virgin Mary blue ink drawings on white paper. Looks really sick actually. Oh, it's wet. I'm touching it trying to paint the white in and I'm like, oh, it's not working. It's because it's wet. Okay, we got the beetle in. It's a fine line between like not rushing and like, wow, that looks pretty legit actually on the camera. Nice. Okay, there's also a little balance here between me keeping up with the chat versus also like not straight up ignoring people. So if I don't see it or mention it, like the chat moves pretty quickly, like that took a little while, so if I don't see it, just like plug it again. It's cool. I'm never going to be like, oh my god, this guy's keeps saying the same thing over and over. I honestly, Isidore said honeybee, and that actually sounds pretty sick, because then we got the two bugs, and honeybee is kind of more like a light symbol animal, so let's do that. And I'm going to use this smaller book because it's a lot easier for me to just poke into. And let's see what it says about bee really quick in here. Bee is a really dope symbol. I know some of the popes used bees as their like on their crest or something like that. Wow, B isn't in here. I'm literally about to return this book. No, I found it. Yeah, so actually here it has, wow, I'm so glad I got the camera working. It's so nice with the focus. This is dope. So it says, I got this image of a bee here. Maybe we'll use this actually. It says, this 5th century BC coin of Ephesus shows a queen bee, emblem of the city, and also the Great Mother, whose priestesses were called Melissae, which apparently means bees. Maybe in Greek. I don't know. I'm not going to read this whole thing, but we'll kind of read the intro, and then we'll see what it says for like certain cultures that are relevant to this right now. Bee, immortality, rebirth, industry, order, purity, a soul. Bees were believed to be parthenogenic. I'm not going to lie, I don't know what that is. And so signified virginity and chastity. Oh, I think parthenogenic means they just emerge spontaneously without like sex or any type of like biological mechanism behind their like birth, but I'm not totally sure about that. They carry a heavenly import, and honey is the offering to supreme deities. Bees often represent the stars and are also winged messengers carrying news to the spirit world. Telling the bees of a death or important event is to send a message to the next world or to the spirits. Bees are messengers of oak and thunder gods. It was very pagan. We're going to Christian this up a little bit. Here's Christian. Under the Christian entry, it says, diligence, good order, purity, chaste virgins, courage, economy, prudence, cooperation, sweetness, religious eloquence, the ordered and pious community who produce prosperity, rejoice in the offering, yet retain their virginity. It's quoting some book here called the Exultet Roll. Never heard of that. Virginity of Mary, the producer of Christ, who is symbolized by honey. That's actually really dope. I have never heard that before. It's really awesome, actually. The bee, regarded as never sleeping, is Christian vigilance and seal. Flying in the air, it is the soul entering the kingdom of heaven. Now we're talking. The bee also symbolizes the Christian with the hive as the church. That's what I was going to say, actually. I don't need to break open the Christian symbolism book because I know what it says in there. There's not that many animal entries, and I've read them all like 100 times. The beehive, yeah, the beehive is symbolic of like the church as a whole, and then all the little bees are like the little participants in the church, which I think is really dope. So yeah, let's do that. Let's drop a bee in here. And then that's kind of good because, you know, whenever we do this, i.e. the one other time that we've done this, not what I'm worried about, but I guess you could say what I want to keep in mind is like not just making it like a totally, completely random assortment of things. So then we got the two bugs, and then we got a good jumping off point. We have like sort of like a solar flying bug. And then we have this like terrestrial, earthly bug that's like stuck in the earth who kind of, honestly, looks a little bit more like nocturnal style. And I'm going to do a little bit of, I guess you could say, kind of like a bold move. I could use the black for the bee. Obviously, bees are black and yellow, but actually I'm going to use this super dark blue. So it'll kind of marry the two together, actually, so they won't look like they're on like totally different pictures. And actually, let's see, should I use that little image of a bee we just saw? I think I should. I mean, I have my own way of doing it, but I'm just going to throw this up here so I can see it, and we'll kind of copy that really quick. By the end of the show, not this show, but like the show in general, all my books will be covered in paint, which I'm actually pretty cool with. This bee's a little weird. Let's use it though. It's kind of cool. So it's built this way. And should I make it facing up or down? I'll make it facing up. So it's got this circular form on top. This is not how I would normally draw a bee, but we'll use this like Greek bee, 5th century Ephesus. It's pretty cool actually. It's got this circle on top. It's got a lump underneath. Boom. And then they have it with this little tiny, like comically thin thorax. Oh, it's supposed to be a queen bee. We're not going to make a queen bee. I don't want to like derail the symbolism that hard. So I'm just going to kind of wing it a little bit and take their form. I'm going to take the bottom part of it and just punch it up a little bit. I just don't want it to have that like hyper thin thorax. It makes it look very like fragile. It's like the cool part of the bumblebee, the honeybee, is kind of how strong it looks. So got that going on. Put some stripes on this bad boy. I went with the straight horizontal stripes. I could have put them in like swoopy to give the bee more like three-dimensional form, but I didn't. I just didn't want to. And then the bumblebee wings, I like to put them in like this. It's kind of like a double set of wings where there's one going up and then the next kind of like tuck under like that. Yeah. There's certain animals where when you paint or draw them, you can kind of get away with anything. And the bee is really one of those. You could literally just draw like a lump, and if you stripe it with black and yellow, it'll look like a bee. People will know what it is. A rabbit's kind of like that too. If you draw a rabbit, you can literally just draw like a lump and put 2 ears on it, and the viewer will read it as a rabbit. So we can kind of push the bee form a little bit. Sometimes I make it so you can see the other pair of legs through the wings, but I'm not going to do that right now. Maybe we'll leave the wings blank. Maybe we won't. And this bee, this Ephesus bee coin that we're looking at, you can kind of see these big bulging eyes, which is pretty cool. And it even has the antenna coming. Maybe it's not the eyes, but I'm reading it as the eyes coming out that way. So we mailed up this Ephesus bee. I feel like that's cool. Whoever made this bee 2,500 years ago, good job. But we had to change it a little bit for the picture. And I'm going to throw down some darkness in here. Boom. So we'll kind of give it these dark stripes. And yeah, the bee has got to be like one of the most ancient symbols. I mean, we just pulled one up from 2,500 years ago, but I mean, how could you not? How could mankind not relate to that? So we'll put in the darkness. We'll make the head dark too. It'll read a little bit more like a bee that way. And then we got some options here. I'll leave that light, and I'm going to throw down the cadmium yellow while we talk about our options. So we could put something in between the two bugs. We could make it so like the stag beetle has something above it, and then the bee has something above it. I can go over this line. Who cares? But could put something in the middle, or we could kind of have like a quaternity, like a 4 situation, where we could put 2 things to the left and right over here. Maybe those are like balancing it out. This kind of arrangement where we have, like I said, a flying, more like solar animal, and then like a terrestrial animal is actually really, really common in different kinds of like cultural art. Such a meaningless term, cultural art. It's like a cope for me not to say like religious art. But for example, like in Asia, different Asian cultures, you'll often get like the tiger and the dragon, where the dragon is basically the opposite of the tiger in every way. Dragon's a fantastic animal, i.e. it's not like real in the same way that a tiger is. Tiger is a real animal. Tiger's terrestrial, dragon is celestial. So they offset each other. So often it's kind of cool in a picture to have 2 animals that, you know, people wouldn't normally look at and think of them as representing like polar opposites, but you can kind of push that element a little bit. All right, so I'm just going to throw in these fat yellow stripes so we can keep it moving. Cool. And yeah, I remember seeing when I was in Italy a lot of like Pope stuff with bees on it. I think there's one Pope that had like 3 bees as his crest or something. So, got a good precedence going on there. I wonder if bees are mentioned in the Bible. I actually can't think of it off the top of my head, but there must be something in Psalms or something about bees. That's good enough for right now. We can come back to that bad boy a little bit later. Okay. Oh, chat's not moving as fast, which is good actually. Have I seen St. Christopher as a dog-headed man? Yeah, dude. I really want to make an image of that. I'm glad you mentioned that. Yeah, I'm going to get to that eventually. Have him holding a beer. That's funny, but maybe. Probably not. Broken vessel of some sort. That's pretty tight, actually. Grooving on the humble backyard insects to bring in the summer vibe. I'm really open to the broken vessel. I actually love, like, some kind of like spilled something or other, like if there's a bottle or like a glass and something's like spilling out of it. It's really awesome, but it brings a very like dark vibe, I guess you could say. Like it reads like accident or tragedy. So I'm going to put that in the back pocket. Maybe we'll jump on that. Let's kind of put that in the back pocket, like I said. 2 beefy bodybuilder bugs bringing in the summer vibe. Yes. A quiver of arrows. Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that, actually. Yeah, arrows is good because I can put it long ways in between them, and then that'll kind of like naturally break up the picture to be like above and below. So let's do it. What color am I going to throw this down in right now? I think I'm just going to use raw sienna. It's going to be too light. I'm going to use this burnt umber. We'll make it brown. Brown also goes really well with the blue. So we'll make the quiver like kind of like a dark, like leathery bag color. Just like this. And then we'll have the arrows like poking out of it. It's also a very like positive symbol, like a quiver full of arrows. That's in the Bible too, by the way. Boom. All right. I wonder if quiver is in one of these books, actually. I know that arrows are for sure. We'll look it up. I'll throw it down and then we'll look it up. Perfect. And we'll make it pretty big because I want to break up the space here. I'm also, when I do this, I'm also thinking about like composition and stuff, so we'll make it pretty big. I could even get some like watercolory effect going on. Boom. So I'm just going to throw it down kind of like a tube. That's pretty much what it is. It's pretty much a straight up tube. And I'm going to water this a little bit so I can see if I can get a little bit of, you know, if you just throw all the paint down at the same opacity, the same thickness, that's, you know, one thing. But if you get a little bit of variation going on, it's a little bit more visually interesting. It's kind of like playing an instrument, you know. It's like when someone starts playing an instrument and they first learn a song, they like play all the notes at like the same exact volume. It's almost like a robot like playing the instrument. But then as you get better, you start to like vary it up a little bit and it becomes a lot more interesting. It's kind of how I feel about including like just variations in the material. And I'm just going to throw down these arrows and then we'll see what it says about them. I guess we should look it up first, but I don't want to, honestly. This is a good brown, raw sienna. The raw browns, as you know if you watch the show, are more yellow. The burnt browns are more red. When I think of the quiver full of arrows, actually all I think of is when the Bible basically says have a lot of kids because each kid is like another arrow in your quiver. I say that to my wife a lot when I'm like quote unquote joking about wanting to have like 12 kids. And I'm just going to throw these down. So like, yeah, it would be cool to have it like packed out, but you want to make sure that it's able to be read. So I'm actually just going to put in a few. And then it'll read as like a quiver full of arrows, but really might only get like 3 or 4 in here. Perfect. Dope. Boom. And we'll throw down one more. Perfect. Should have made them different heights, but I didn't, so it doesn't matter. And I'm going to throw down the back, so I'm going to complete like the tube. Technically, actually, I should have put this in before I put in the arrows, but it's cool. Kind of just going along here. Boom. Perfect. I'll outline that and make it exactly how I want in a minute. Okay, cool. And I'm going to throw down the tips of the arrows. I'm just going to make them silver. I'm just going to make them gray. And we'll pull a little bit of a fancy maneuver because I have this warm yellow here. So we'll see if it works out or not. I might look like a doofus, but if we just mix the yellow with purple and white, that'll actually make gray. If you were here last time, I talked about it, but 2 colors that are opposite on the color wheel will kind of like cancel each other out, and they'll make gray. It's kind of a fancy maneuver if you're painting in front of people, like I'm doing right now. But also it's a way to mix more like lively grays and stuff like that. Sometimes I'll use blue and orange. It's a really good one. Let's see. Or I'll just look dumb if it doesn't work, and people will be like, purple and yellow? Dude, what? I don't need that much, though. Nice. Yeah, there we go. It's gray enough, but I want it to be darker. Oh, that was stupid. I mixed the blue in. It's fine, though. It'll be like a cool gray. It'll go with the rest of the picture more. Cool. And yeah, arrows are kind of a cool one. I don't know, whenever I use arrows in my pictures, I've thought about this before, but I feel like swords and stuff impart like such a feudal and like medieval worldview, but I don't know, arrows are more like timeless in a way. You know, they had arrows for like so long. It just doesn't really read the same way. I'm actually kind of stoked to see what it says about arrows in one of these books. We'll check it out. Boom. Perfect. Often I'll use the bow and arrow, where the arrow is like the male principle and then the bow is like the female principle. I use that a lot, actually. When I made a picture of me and my wife, I did that, actually. Okay. That's pretty good. We're getting a little like primitive painting style, but it's okay. And let's just jump in here. And I wonder if arrows are even in here. They got to be in here, right? Let's check it out. Arrow. Arrow, yeah. Nice. Exactly what I just said. That's awesome. Arrow, the piercing masculine principle. Penetration, phallic, lightning, rain, fecundity, virility, power, war. A flight of arrows symbolizes ascent to the celestial. That's dope. Maybe we'll put some arrows like in the air. Arrows loosed from a bow represent the consequences of actions which cannot be recalled or revoked. That's really epic. The arrow, as with the lance and sword, is a solar symbol depicting the sun's rays, also the attribute of the warrior. An arrow piercing a serpent is the sun's rays piercing the dark clouds of the humid principle. That's referring to alchemy, but it doesn't actually say that, which is weird. The broad arrow, the fleur-de-lis, is the fleur-de-lis really an arrow? That's interesting. Denotes royal property, and then it has different cultures, so we're just going to go to Christian, obviously, which is the best one. Martyrdom, suffering, the nails of the cross, emblem of Saint Christina, Edmund, Gills, Sebastian, Ursula. That's true, actually. If you've seen an image of Saint Sebastian, he's like loaded up with arrows. It's a pretty cool image. And I'm actually wondering if Quiver is in here. Let's just double down really quick. And then I'm going to look in the chat for more symbols. So drop some stuff in there. Q. I just want to see if Quiver's in here. It's probably something I've never thought to look up. Quiver. Yeah, it's right here. The receptive feminine principle, with the arrow as the male, an attribute of Artemis and all hunters. It's actually interesting. I've always thought of the bow and arrow as the male-female arrow combo, but I've never thought about the quiver as the female receptive counterpart to the arrow. That is dope. I'm definitely going to think about that now when I use that as a symbol. I actually drew some images of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. I'll probably post them soon. And the first horseman I drew with this quiver full of poison arrows on his back. It looks really dope. Okay, that was a good one. We're killing it so far. Quiver of arrows. Okay, stag beetle, so terrestrial animal. Could be stag moose. Yeah, I could put like a moose in the back. That's pretty tight, actually, because you have the parallel between the poker and the moose antlers. That's a good one. Let's think about that. The moose is a pretty big animal. I could have it poking in this way, and then we could get the antlers, and then we could have something poking in this way. I'm pretty open to that, actually. Is there some container that can break that isn't tragic, but more of an opening up or unshackling vibe? That's interesting. That's interesting. Makes me think of like sometimes I use alcohol bottles or things like that in my art, but you know, the weird thing about that for me is that it gets a little bit tricky when I'm working within like a Christian symbolic context, but then I'm using like alcohol in like a negative way. It gets like really tricky because like wine is such a good positive symbol, but then you have like, you know, like the bad aspect of alcohol. Sometimes it gets hard to differentiate. We'll think about that though. In Judges 14, bees make a hive in a lion carcass. Yeah, that's sick. That's really cool. Draw a bag with stars in it. That's pretty tight, actually. I don't know what that means, but that's pretty tight. Yeah, we'll probably do that actually right now. Oh, Seneca's here? Word up, dude. Yeah, let's get a bag with stars in it. That sounds sick. That sounds sick. I like using stars. Stars for me are kind of a symbol of like a sign from the heavens. Whoa, my bulletin board just fell. It's all good though. Stars to me are kind of a symbol of like a sign from the heavens. They're like, you know, strewn about the celestial dome. It also makes me think of the 3 wise men who like followed a star to like find Christ, right? Obviously identify with that archetype. 3 magicians following a star, leading them to Jesus. Where's star? Oh, it's right here. Yeah, let's check it out, and then we'll do that. It sounds pretty tight, actually. Star, I'm not going to read this whole thing. Star, the presence of a divinity, supremacy, the eternal, the undying, the highest attainment, an angelic messenger of a god, hope as shining in darkness. That's true, actually. Stars are kind of like the light shining in the darkness because they have to be juxtaposed against like a night. Well, they don't have to be, but they're inherently juxtaposed against like night. It's a pretty cool aspect of the star symbolism, actually. Stars are an attribute of all queens of heaven who are often star-crowned. Obviously, that would be Mary, the actual Queen of Heaven. The star is preeminently the symbol of... Okay, honestly, I mean, I'm kind of down, but there's just so much pagan stuff. It's cool. Like, I'm into it. Like, as an esotericist, I'm down, but we're just going to cut to the chase. Divine guidance and favor. The birth of Christ, the Virgin Mary as Queen of Heaven, wears a crown of stars. The 12 stars are also the 12 tribes of Israel and the apostles. Symbolism of certain saints. It's pretty dope, actually. Let's see Greco-Roman, too, since we got the bee thing going on. According to Hesiod, the stars are the drops of blood of Uranus. I guess that's Uranus, really. Well, in modern parlance. Venus is both the morning and evening star. Planetary gods are often depicted with a star on the forehead or overhead. I've actually never seen that. I've never seen a Greek god with a star straight up on his forehead. But that sounds pretty dope. And did I move this? Oh, we're good. And yeah, so let's see. Whoever said that, it's kind of cool to get a weird juxtaposition of symbols like that. A bag of stars. How do I want to paint that? I like that idea, though. I like that idea. I'm just going to make a bag and then put the stars on it. And it'll be kind of like a two-dimensional, like, pictorial convention where, like, what's on the bag is, like, implied to be, like, inside of it. Or actually, I know what we're going to do. It's going to be perfect. So whenever I paint, this is a really weird thing that I have on deck, but whenever I paint bags, I like to use this yellow ochre color. It's really nice, just, like, not very intense color. Not very intense, like parchment-y kind of brown. So I think what we'll do is I'm just going to paint this like sack, and then like a window inside of it will like put the night inside of it. And that kind of fits like the summer vibe too. Oh, I got a little on the paper. It's not a big deal now. Kind of fits like the summer vibe too, summer night vibe. Put too much water in here. All right. I'm just going to make it pretty big so I have enough room to like get the window of like the night in. Just gonna come in. Boom. It's like a fat sack. It's probably the first time that I've used the phrase fat sack since I stopped smoking weed. But that's exactly what it is. We're painting a literal fat sack. Alright, cool. We're reclaiming the fat sack symbology right now. And this is going to be pretty wet, so I'll have to come back and paint in the night. But I think I'll put this like a window of like darkness, and then we'll put the stars and this like window of darkness on here. I think that'll be really sick. And I'm going to put like kind of like the tie, sort of like the money bag emoji. Honestly, it's like really just the best representation of the bag. Perfect. And I'll come back and I'll put like some shading and I'll put like a little tie on it, and we'll make it more like fleshed out. But for now, it's too wet. That's why I can't keep going on that. So we'll pause that for a second. Okay, let's read a few and then see what direction we want to go here. What about a rose? Yeah, well, I mean, we'll definitely put that in. Can I make a picture without a rose? Is such a thing even possible? This is a pretty cool idea. Actually, yeah, so let's keep it moving a little quickly. I'm going to just throw down a rose. That's perfect. And I'm going to put it above. Should I put it above the bee, or should I put it to the... I'm going to put it above the bee small, because in terms of a picture composition situation, so I'm always like, whenever I'm talking, I'm also thinking of like people starting to like make pictures and drawing and painting and stuff like that, and any like tips I want to give out. So that's also why I like talking about what I'm thinking kind of like live, like as it's happening. So I'm going to put the rose in really small up here, because what I don't want to happen is sometimes if you're making a picture like this, if you have everything the same size, it starts to get very flat, and it's like, yes, I cut and pasted all of these little things next to each other. So you want to make sure you're like varying the size up and stuff like that. So I'm going to put in just like, you know, the thing about the rose is I have to go back in and like paint the petals in. So for right now, it'll just look like kind of a lump. Ooh, actually, I'm going to make it a white rose that is just outlined with the red, and it's going to be dope. That's what we're going to do right now. And then the bee and the rose, somehow those two things go together. Maybe because bees pollinate flowers, but I even feel like in like a deeper sense they kind of like go together. I want to make the lines kind of thick, because even though it's smaller, I still want it to match with the rest of the picture. Then it'll be a white rose. I always use the red rose. For me, the red rose is symbolic of Jesus' passion, and then the white rose is like symbolic of like purity. Sometimes I'll use them alternating. I made a picture of this saint the other day. I haven't been posting like anything I've been making because I've been putting it all on Patreon, or it's for like commissions. It's really annoying actually. So I'm trying to restructure that for the rest of the summer, for the rest of my life. So I'm never like making all this stuff that I'm not posting. It's really annoying. I'll post it eventually, don't worry. But I made this image of this saint the other day, and I made it alternating the red and white roses around it, and that was really sick. Yeah, this is dope. Okay. I think that was a good call, making it like white with the red. Nice. All right, cool. That was a good call, whoever said that. Okay, we got 2 good suggestions here. Yeah, honey jar is tight. Honey jar is tight. Someone said Aaron Sprout. I never know if I should read people's full names. So Aaron said, flip to a random page in one of the symbol books and include whatever article you open to. That's actually a dope idea. We are going to do that eventually. Clay jar, like a honey pot. I second the honey pot inclusion. Yeah, that's a good one. I like including honey. I like that idea a lot, and I like doing it. I never know exactly how to depict the fact that it is like clearly honey, if you know what I'm saying. Should we make it a jar? Will it look like honey if it's in a jar? Maybe it won't. Maybe, I don't know. Do people buy honey in jars? I guess they kind of do, right? Let's make it a jar. Because if I make it a clay pot, then the thing is I have to like, just like the emoji you posted, if I make it a clay pot, then I have to have the honey like spilling out, and then it kind of has this like messy, kind of like weird connotation to it. So let's see if we can get away with just a straight up jar of honey. And I have a big question here. Am I going to outline the clear jar in ochre or blue? Let's do it in ochre. And then we'll make the top like silver, kind of like the arrow tips. I'm going to make it smaller. I don't know if I should have made the bag that big, but it's okay. And I'm going to start trying to also like marry things together, like integrate things in the picture together, like make it clear that there's like some relationship between them, even if it's just like a vine like running between them, or maybe there's like a halo behind one that like touches another one. But we want to start thinking about integrating things. So in a second, I'll kind of just like step back and think about that. So I'm going to try and get like a nice dark gray, like it's like the top of the honey jar. Also, putting the honeycomb pattern on it sometimes makes it look more like honey, just like the way it's red. Yeah, it's kind of light. It's kind of light, but it's okay. Perfect. Got this jar. Yeah, it kind of looks like a jar. We'll know it's a jar at least. And I gotta get that honey color perfect. It's such a particular color. But I think that if we take this cadmium yellow and the ochre, right? Isn't that like exactly the color we need? It really is. Yeah, I think over here, I think this is really, I'm just gonna take a little bit more. It really is like a good honey color. Let's just deploy it. Let's just see what happens. I'm gonna try and get that rectangle in. I guess I unintentionally made it half full, but it's okay. Well, no, I'll make it full. No one buys honey and then it's half full. It's kind of whack. Cool. And we'll just come and throw this down. See if it looks like honey. It's kind of a hard color to nail, but if it doesn't look like honey, we can come back. Perfect. And maybe I want to start getting a little background in, even if it's just like slight, just so everything's not floating on like a white. It's pretty dope actually. And then for the top, I don't want it to read like too mustardy, so I'm just going to grab this yellow and just throw it down at the top, like you're looking at this like jar of honey. That's good. And I'll come back, and if I throw in, I think like a fat cadmium yellow shine right there, it'll look like honey. I'm torn. I feel like maybe I should take a little bit of it out, just so like honey is like not translucent, but it's also not like a straight up jar of mustard, right? So I'm just going to do this and see what happens if I, yeah, it didn't really do that much, but we'll take it. Just like take a little bit of the color. And then, yeah, I'll come back in and actually I'll just do it right now. I'm going to put a little bit of dark in there. I guess honey almost gets like this yellow ochre color. Almost. And then I'll find some way of like totally indicating that it's honey. I'm not really too worried about it, as you can probably tell. And then I'm going to get a little bit of yellow in here. It's still wet, so what I'm doing is kind of stupid, but it's okay. And I think if I put that like white shine in, it'll get it really popping. Okay. Yeah, I don't know what those weird sticks are people always associate with honey. It's kind of weird. I've never actually figured it out. I've noticed it obviously as I've tried to like depict such things, but I'm not really sure. All right, I'm gonna go back and put night sky situation over here, and then we'll zoom out for a little bit and see where we're going. I think I got a few things I'm thinking that could be kind of dope. Like maybe like some sun and moon thing going on that would explicitly make this like hard dichotomy between the two would be kind of dope. Once again, I don't have cerulean blue because of Winsor & Newton paint manufacturing defects. It's not a big deal, but just once again, that would be perfect right now. For the night sky, I want to get this ultramarine going. We were just talking about Virgin Mary blue and stuff like that. This is really like lapis lazuli blue. In fact, I mentioned this back when I first introduced the pigments, but it's called ultramarine because ultra means far, marine means ocean, and they used to have to get the lapis lazuli pigment from far away over the ocean, like from Afghanistan, so that's why I got that name. So when you go to a paint store, if you see ultramarine blue, it's actually a remnant from the time when they had to get lapis lazuli and crush it up to make this like sweet Virgin Mary blue paint. And you'll probably notice I just dropped it right in there. It's because I wanted to cut it a little bit. It's a really, really, really intense color. So I just kind of wanted to like, get a little bit of this indigo and a little bit of the beetle color in there. And I'm just going to put a straight up window. We talked about making this like a night sky. I think it'll be dope. Every time I do a picture, I try and do one thing I haven't done before. I don't think I've painted like the night sky on a bag before, so that'll be good. And I'm being really careful putting down the paint because the paint will let me put down a layer over it perfectly like you see right now. But the thing is, since the paint is water soluble and there's water in the paint, if I've messed with it too much, wow, it actually was perfect. The layer below will start to kick up and inhabit the layer above it. It'll like re-wet itself. So that's good for right now. We'll come back and put the stars in. Okay. Let's see what's going on. Small rose star at top reminded me of the flower design on forehead, common makeup style in the Tang Dynasty. It's pretty cool. Thought about John the Baptist symbology because of the honey and beetle. Yo, that's interesting, actually. Interesting, John the Baptist vibe. We could push a little bit of that vibe. Well, I was just thinking about the background and something that would start to make it all cohese as like one picture. When I think of John the Baptist and the beetles and honey, he was eating like locusts and wild honey and stuff like that. I think that's obviously what you're talking about. Makes me think of the wilderness. He was like living in the wilderness when he did that, I think, right? I'm not totally sure, but that part of the Bible makes me think of like wilderness and people like inhabiting the wilderness. So I think what would be really dope is if I just put a line, maybe I'm going to do it right now. If I just put a line right here and threw down some trees, because then we'll have space to put something above it, space to put something below it. But if we have a line over here with some trees, and then we can have like kind of a similar thing, actually that would look dope. A similar like hill over here. We don't have to put trees, we can put something else, maybe like a city actually, that would be kind of cool, like wilderness in the city. Or like a tower or a pyramid or whatever. I'll take whatever you guys say. But I think I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to throw down a line and then throw down some trees. Just because I don't want it to end up like, oh, cool, we like arbitrarily put a bunch of like random stuff next to each other. Which it's definitely not at that point right now, but I just want to make sure it doesn't get to that point. And actually, the dark blue, the kind of like indigo, is sort of functioning as the black for this image. It kind of is functioning as like the line darkest color, so I'm just going to throw down, boom, perfect. Could keep it going, but I actually don't want to. And I'm going to put the same kind of hill shape over here. And that gives us a lot to work with because could put like a sunrise or a sunset, something underground. Could do a lot. Could do a lot with what just happened right now. But I'm going to put in some trees really quick up here just because I feel like I can do that. Someone said John the Baptist symbolism. Wilderness is kind of part of that. So can we get some desert trees instead of like bushy trees? Yeah, you mean like cypress trees? Like where's my sketchbook? It's over here. This is not the right sketchbook, but it's okay. Can I just drop this here? Yeah. Yeah, you're talking about like boom. I feel like when I think of desert trees, so there's like standard, right? Obviously many kinds of like bushy trees. Oh, such a good tree. So good. But I think what you mean is like the kind of like pointy, like when I think of desert trees, I think of like cypress trees, right? That's what they're kind of like, right? I don't think cypress trees are really in the desert. Should I Google desert trees right now? I'm going to do it really quick. Hold on 2 seconds. I'm just going to see what comes up because actually, I just want to see what happens. Actually, it said desert trees in Minecraft. Oh. Yeah, actually, they're kind of like this. They're like those trees that come like down and then they have like little bits of like stuff in them like that. That's actually what they all kind of look like in here. Let's roll with that style. I never paint trees like that. Kind of think of Joshua trees. All right, really quick, I'll Google one more time. This is the last thing I'm Googling though. Joshua trees. Oh yeah, they are pointy. They're kind of like, almost like cactusy trees. Yeah, they're kind of like this, actually. They're kind of like come down and like, they're kind of like that kind of tree. Yeah, we'll do that. Let's do that. That was worth searching for, actually. Boom. Let's do it. Let's see. Yo, actually, I'm going to pull up tree. Well, I'm not going to pull up tree because I can like talk about tree. Trees are like really one of my favorite symbols, bar none, for sure. They have like a very like Axis Mundi vibe if you have like one big tree. And I'm just going to cut this brown. I'm going to use the brown, but I'm going to cut it a little bit with the blue. We'll make it a little bit more like dark and desaturated and black. And then we'll put some like dark green on the tips of it. Tree is, like I said, easily one of my favorite symbols. It has a very like center of the universe vibe if you just have one like big tree. But then if you have a bunch of them, then it has like obviously like a wilderness connotation like we were saying. It's also pretty cool because, I just want to make sure I don't mess this up. They usually play a role in the story of like religious figures in a way that people don't normally anticipate. Like, I don't think people really make the connection too much, but like Jesus was crucified on a cross, right, which was made of wood, right, which means that it came from a tree. So there's like kind of an indirect like association there. And then in other religious systems, like Buddha got enlightened underneath a tree. So it's a weird like bridge between realms. I don't know. I don't really know a word to use there. Maybe that's also just because it, comes from underground and then comes above the ground, so it kind of has a natural like bridge between realms connotation to it. Yeah, this looks dope. They're gonna look kind of scary though, because I'm not gonna like flesh them out fully. But it's cool. We can deal with some scary trees for a minute. It's like Bob Ross, just some scary little trees. Just a little tree got cut down to crucify the Lord. Just make a nice little wooden tree over here. I'm not making light of it. That's literally what happened. So, all right. And I'll put, I don't know, we'll see how unscary I can make them, because maybe I can get some like nice like light brown going on above it. Boom. Those trees with few leaves, To conserve water are loved by goats. They also look like the fruiting bodies of mold under a microscope. Yeah, fact check true. Yeah, actually, that's funny. We were talking about fractals in the pre-show, and yeah, trees have an extremely high fractal dimension to them. I'm actually going to use this green that I never normally use. So I'm going to turn the palette really quick just to get a little fresh start. I never use this green called olive green. I'm going to see what it looks like. Happy little trees that committed deicide. It's really funny, actually. Whoever said that. Yeah, in the Christian Symbolism book I have, I'm just going to straight up lay down this olive green. We're going to lose the summer vibe. I don't think we were ever really going for the summer vibe, but once I throw down this olive green, it's like not really going to be there anymore. We're going to get a little bit more deserty, but I think that's cool. Maybe we'll put the cool greens over here, and it'll contrast with this like more aggressive like leafy green, but we'll see. And I'm just going to kind of see... I really want it to be like transparent because I think there we go. This color is really gonna like shine when the light is able to like kick up through the paper. It's a little bit of like a science aspect of it, but like what you have to imagine when you're doing watercolor stuff is like, that looks good, nice. It's like when you're looking at this, the light that you're seeing, even on the camera right now, the light is going through a layer of paint and hitting the white paper and bouncing back through that layer of paint. So it's almost like when you see like an oil slick in a parking lot. There's no iridescence obviously, but you're seeing the light go through this like layer of paint twice, and I think that's part of what gives it its nice like just gives it a very like nice quality. Cool, this is good, and we'll go a little nuts over here because I want them to be kind of nice. Yeah, and watercolor rules. This is really dope. Cool. Yeah, that's dope. And they got a lot less scary. Nice. Yeah, in this book over here, so I'll break it out really quick. It's kind of cool. We haven't looked at the books for a second. Where is it? Where is it? It is... How did I misplace a book? Oh well, I'll find it in a minute. Where is it? Oh, it fell. So in this book on Christian symbolism, it has different trees in here, and it's pretty cool, actually. I'm going to pull up one really quick. Let's just see. Dun, 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 dun. Let's see. I think there's a whole section on plants. Yeah, there is. I don't know what you call those trees. I guess you call them Joshua trees, like you said. But let's see. Cypress trees are in here. They symbolize death. We'll see if we use more trees. Otherwise, I'm not going to float around in here too much. Okay, so now we got a cool scene situation going. I want to know what we're going to put over here to kind of balance out the trees. I would put like a city or something, obviously, because that's just one of the things I deploy in my art like all the time. Yo, that's really tight. What about doing the roots to those trees by the beetle? So like down here there's roots. Yeah, dude, that's sick actually. We're definitely going to do that. It's a really cool idea. Actually, I don't think I've used in a picture trees separated from their roots before. I don't think I've done that yet. That's tight. I really like when in like sort of you could say my basic symbol set, I'm like, oh yeah, I actually haven't used that before. Roots are such an awesome symbol. It's something I've been using a lot in my art more and more. So good. I mean, underground, so you get all like the chthonic, like underworld, kind of like hidden symbolism, but they're not like underworld in like a bad way. Like when people see roots, they know it's about like drawing life like from the soil. Actually, that looks a little bit like an upside down tree, which is really dope, but I want to make sure it reads as like a root system. So I'm going to go a little bit more organic than I normally do. Normally I do really pump the like kind of chunky block color situation. And yeah, it has a connotation of like life-giving and like siphoning life like from the earth and stuff. One thing I have been doing a bunch recently is I'll paint like something tiny, like a tiny little plant. So like I'll have like a little sprout up here, and then I'll give it like a huge like epic root system. I feel like that has a nice like symbolic dimension, like it's this tiny plant, but like there's a lot under the surface you don't see. I actually want to make like a hoodie or something like that with it on it. But yeah, this is a dope idea, the roots like separated from the trees. Also really drives home like the beetle as like this underground, like underworld thing, and then we have the bee with like the above world above it. I don't know what, well, I can think of what I would do, but I'm taking suggestions from you guys. If we have the rose up here, we could have something else down here to like offset the rose, like a rock. I don't know. Rock's kind of just like a gray lump in a picture, but that could be cool. Man, the roots over here and the trees over there. That's sick. That's dope. It's really dope. Second, the tree roots. Yeah, that was a good idea. That was a good idea, obviously. All right, I'm gonna let some more suggestions build up in the chat while I quickly put the like stars and night sky and stuff on the bag over here. Now that it's dry. Yo, actually a mushroom. I don't think you were suggesting it, but a mushroom would be dope. Offsetting the rose, because we could get the other like color symbolism over there. That would actually be really tight. Maybe we'll do that if someone suggests it. So I'm just getting all the brown off of this brush before I grab the yellow and white and stuff. Cool. This is going really well. Make the sun a little yellow, just to like offset the dark blue night sky. And I guess that means we could, we don't have to, but we could get something kind of like solar going on up in B world. Actually, whoever suggested this didn't say night sky. They said a bag full of stars. So I guess I kind of interpreted your suggestion. We'll decide if that's allowed for the call-in show, if I can interpret suggestions or if I have to just take the straight suggestions. But for now, it's happening. I guess initially I thought that I would just put the dots in and then you kind of need the moon for it to read as night sky, but I could have just put the stars in. Maybe I should have, but it's okay. Yeah, that's dope. And what I find normally is if I just get like one or two good stars in, whatever else I put in will read as stars. So after I put in these two stars, I'm just going to put in the dots. And then I did kind of cheat whoever suggested this, because then it really is like the night sky in a bag as opposed to stars in a bag, but it's my bad. But it's okay. There's no mistakes. We're just going to keep it moving. I should have like Bob Ross, what's the word? Like samples. I can just press a button and like drop in the... That's pretty dope though, actually. Okay, and I'm going to put a little tie on this bag, like holding it shut. Let's just go with, well, I kind of don't want to use blue because I don't want it to look like more of the, just going to make it like a leathery dark color. Gray. Everyone's favorite color. Let's see, just put a little tie. It's actually perfect. Could put a shadow down here to make it so it's like sitting on something solid. We might do that. Kind of depends on how the background goes. I'm really stoked about the tree root situation, but yeah, it just depends on how we do the whole background. We could do the kind of the same thing where like I have like a hill over here that the honey's on and a hill over here that the bag is on. Could put it like on a table or something. That's kind of what I'm thinking about, but I don't know. We'll see. Could also have something growing out of the bag, something like that. Let's see. Let's see what you guys are talking about in the chat, and then we'll keep it going. Do I know about mushroom root system cooperation? Oh, like mushrooms working with other plant roots? Yo, actually, yeah, my wife was telling me some crazy shit about that. Like trees will like talk to other plants and then like produce more or less acorns based on like what's going on. But no, I don't know too much about that beyond what I just said. Crown of Thorns. All right, we got two people talking about thorns at once, so it must be destiny. Will says Crown of Thorns. Rose stems, thorny vines tied together into a knot. Okay, those two things happened. Those two suggestions happened at the same time, so obviously there's something going on here. Rose stems / thorny vines tied together in a knot or ball under the beetle. That's interesting. Yeah, like we could have a little down here. Well, it's interesting because I feel like if we do like a crown of thorns, then it's like symbol from the crucifixion, and then we're taking it like in that direction, which, I mean, come on, you know, I'm down, obviously. I'm wondering maybe we should like allude to it, like hint at it. Maybe we should just go for it though. Why would I fight that? What I'm kind of thinking is like we could have the vine coming down and then it like subtly or incidentally forming a crown like this under the bee. And that would kind of be like a dope way of occupying this space. At the same time though, I don't know, it's not my picture. I'm supposed to roll with what the chat says. And it would be kind of dope, the thorns offsetting the rose at the bottom. Let's just do it. Let's just do that. I'm not supposed to be directing. I'm supposed to be backseating. So let's just do it. And I could use this olive green. I think I should use the olive green. But I'm going to mix in a little bit of this sap green just to darken it up a little bit. Yeah, mushroom in the bottom middle. I'm really torn. All right, what do you guys think? You guys have heard me talking about this. Mushroom down here, and then we can get the crown of thorns going here. Or, you know, the thing is, mushroom over here. I should be able to like smash a button and like drop a pole. I'm gonna play on the cautionary side and go straight with the chat suggestions because I want as little of my input as possible unless my input is needed. So we're going to put it underneath the beetle. I think it'll be tight. I think it'll be tight like that. And I want to darken it up a little bit. You can see that sap green is actually lighter than the olive green. So I'm going to drop down this Viridian. Viridian's a really dope color, but it's very transparent. That's its main issue. So I'll mix it with the sap green. It'll be perfect. Also, every time I deploy Viridian, I do think of Viridian City from Pokemon. So probably had that ruined for me there. Okay. Now, kind of the same question I was just asking. Am I making it like incidentally like a circular thing of thorns? It's kind of like alluding to the crown of thorns. But, or am I going to make it a knot? Well, he said a knot. Other guy said crown. So let's just go for it. I'm just going to kind of... yeah, I'm going to make it like a knot. I feel like a knot is a really good way to put it. I'm going to have it be a little wavy. I like when people depict the crown of thorns and it's not like perfect. It's kind of like you can see like the imperfections in it. Actually, I have a dope image. Ugh. I have so many things I want to show you guys. I have a really dope image I've been working on for a minute. That's all the Arma Christi, and in the center is like Jesus' hand, and it's surrounded by these like two crowns of thorns that I laid over each other, and it looks awesome. And it took me forever because I feel like I could only work on it in like a certain headspace, like illustrating like all the tools of like Christ's Passion. Like I'm not going to be like pumping like King of the Hill in the background and like filling in the color on like, you know, the purple robe and like the dye and like these nails and stuff. So it took me a long time because I felt like I had to get in the right headspace and kind of put on a little bit more like serious background music and like focus on what I was doing. But it looks really dope. And in the center is the crown of thorns. Actually, today is Tuesday, so it was the Sorrowful Mysteries on the Rosary, if you're into that. And one of them is the crowning with thorns. So at about 8:30 this morning, I was sitting in my carport thinking about that because that was one of the Rosary Mysteries today. Boom. It's a really cool symbol. Actually, it's funny, I've thought about the crown of thorns so much and so many times, but I never really thought about that a plant with thorns normally does have some beautiful flower associated with it, like a rose or something like that, right? Is that true? Maybe. Alright, cool. I think that's really good, actually. Somehow it kind of goes with the beetle. Can't really say why, though. Yeah, that's dope. Nice. Yeah, I'm going to get one more little spike down here. That's awesome. I really like that a lot, actually. It's really good. Cool. All right, so we got mushroom on deck. We have random symbol on deck. Oh yeah, someone said, "What are we doing with the quiver of arrows?" I'm not laughing at you. It's just really like it's really humorously phrased. Like, what are we doing with this? Yeah, it should be pointing at something. I agree. We have like a cool space over here. Going back to the arrows. Someone else said going back to the arrows. Okay, I'm going to read a few of these things right now. Native Alaskan pagan belief is that the stars were held in a box and the raven was messing around with them and let them out. That's awesome, actually. Kind of like Pandora's box. If you have a table... Oh, yeah. Yo, that's true, actually. Isidore said... you're talking about... What's it called? It's called... like reverse perspective, where like in Byzantine images, it kind of like slopes out. It like works the opposite way of like normal perspective. Yeah, maybe we'll do that. I don't know if I want to go hard on the table thing. That's like what I would do if someone says we can. If someone says that we can do it, I guess. No central point. Yeah, lizard. Lizard is dope. Lizard is dope. That would actually go really well down here. Kind of like a dragon-y situation. Yeah, I could do that right now. Let's think about it. I want to make sure the next few moves we make are good, because we have like a half an hour left. So I want to make sure the next few moves we make are tight. But lizard's tight. I want to see where we're at. I want to take stock of where we're at right now. Going back to the arrows, what are they going to point at? White stag, sacred heart. Or could go other way with it and use a serpent or a brain. And those are all great ideas. White stag with a heart. Yeah, that's dope too, actually. I like that idea, actually. I like that idea. Was that a team effort? Yeah, 2 different people said that. All right, let's do it. If two different people agree on something, then that's like I guess that's like a casual Friday call-in show rule now. If 2 different people say something at the same time, it's just got to happen. Yeah. I'll paint in like a white deer, and then I'll put in like a bright red heart. Maybe I'll put it on fire. That's kind of dope, because then it's like I like to like when we have like really sacred symbols, I kind of like to like allude to them rather than full on just like putting them in. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about right now. All right, so yeah, we'll put in a deer with like a heart, and then maybe that'll let us put in like a line dividing the above and below ground or something. Yeah, actually, I'm just going to do that. I'm going to take the reins right there and just do that. 'Cause I'm partially doing that. Normally, I wouldn't take the reins. I'd just let you guys tell me what to do. But when I put in the deer, I want it to be standing on something. Actually, I'll put the deer in first. What color am I going to outline the deer in? Obviously brown. But I'll make it white. I'll keep it white. And let's keep the brown. You don't want to use too many browns in one picture sometimes. Okay. I'll put in this deer. Deer is a really good symbol. And actually, so we haven't been hitting the book that much, which is cool. You know, we want to keep it moving. But I know that the entry for deer... should take my glove off. I'm going to take my glove off. I don't want to get paint on this book. I know the entry for deer in the Book of Symbols is tight. So let's just pause for a second. Maybe we'll put in 2 deer or something, but I think it's definitely worth it checking it out really quick. This is not the Book of Symbols. This is the Christian Symbolism book. But I think deer will be in here. St. Augustine talks about deer. He actually has a whole little exegesis on it. Wow, deer's not in here? No, wrong page. Looks like it's got to be in here. Okay, don't build it up too much. Yo, it's not in here. D-O. That's what I'm saying. See, this is signs and symbols in Christian art, but because people don't paint deer in Renaissance art, it's not in here. It's fine. But I know deer's in here, and I know the entry is really dope. So I'm going to pull it up real quick. It's definitely worth it. And like I was saying, St. Augustine talks about deer. He talks about deer as like an emblem of like the soul, like searching for God. And he has this whole little thing about the way a deer runs through the forest, and like, I mean, I don't know if this is exactly his phrasing, but I'm just kind of paraphrasing for you guys. I'm sure he says it much more like intelligently. But the way a deer like darts and runs like through the forest and will like skillfully like dart around trees and like move really swiftly to find water and then get to the stream and like drink the water. That's basically like how he relates it to the soul that's like searching for God. And I always thought that was really dope. I'm looking up the deer. It's worth it. It's page 284. I was not even close. Bum-ba-dum. I had a dream with a deer in it once. Maybe we'll talk about that. Boom. All right. Took a little while, but it was worth it. This is actually a really cool painting. These are called... it says it right here. I could have pretended to sound smart, but I'm being honest with you guys. It says it down here. It's called a Kasuga deer mandala. they have these images where like the sun is painted in. This is on a scroll painting. I'm actually going to work on some scroll paintings in the studio soon, but we'll talk about that another time. And the gold sun is painted in as this like luminous disc. And in Japanese stuff, the deer is seen as like a messenger of the gods. It like brings messages. There's some Japanese town where deer like hang out with people. Some of you guys have probably seen that before. And actually one of my favorite, there's a huge bug in here. Did you guys just see that? Oh my God. It's fine though. And one of my favorite poems is quoted in here. Oh, is it a beetle? Nah, it's just a fly. That'd be really cool if there was a beetle in the studio, but it's just a huge fly. Not very poetic. There's one of my favorite poems quoted here. It's from a guy named Rilke. Really good poet to check out, by the way. It says, "You run like a herd of luminous deer, and I am dark. I am forest. You are a wheel at which I stand, whose dark spokes sometimes catch me up, revolve me nearer to the center." It's a weird translation, but it's a good poem. By the way, it's a pro tip from me. You're going to put this in your back pocket. If you ever need to send girls poetry, just look up some Rilke stuff. Dude, you're going to be thanking me later. She's going to be like, oh my God, this guy's so deep. Anyway, let's see what this says. Hovering in the moon's luminous path, between above and below, stepping lightly forward between here and not here, while gazing back over its shoulder, this shimmering white deer, it's a white deer, it's perfect, that's what we're about to do, bridges the earthly and spiritual realms, embodying and leading us into the symbolic intermediate realm of the soul. With its velvet coat, soft moist muzzle, brown eyes glistening beneath long lashes, and slender delicate limbs, it seems the deer's very nature to symbolize purity and sublimity. A pair of deer is often depicted flanking the throne of the Buddha. That's true, actually. The first place Buddha taught is a place called Deer Park, and there's 2 deer sitting next to him in a lot of pictures. Who is said to have incarnated in a previous life as a honey-voiced gold stag, whose mission it was to calm the passions of humans lost in despair and lead them to the Eightfold Path. The deer's graceful caution, elegant leaps, sudden appearances, and swift deer disappearances link the animal to the alchemical Mercurius, the transformative intermediary soul substance, as well as to pilgrimage or initiation paths that are circuitous, indirect, constantly shifting direction, or, like the deer, disappearing altogether. The occasional mysterious hoof sounds we hear in the brush along the meandering way belong to a hidden creature that teaches us to tread our path with calm reverence for the unseen and unknown. It's pretty tight. Let's skip to the end real quick. From the Paleolithic era to the Industrial Age, deer provided humans with a principal source of food, as well as clothing and tools. The prolonged pursuit of this gentle animal awakened the hunter's intuition, not only of the ways of the deer, but of the surrounding forest. Hunting societies, from ancient Europe to medieval Japan and native North America, acquired such a profound experience of the deer's movements that the belief was born that the creature could travel from one world to the next in a single graceful bound. The Celtic lord of forest beasts, adorned with leafy antlers, collects the souls of the dying and escorts them to the underworld, accompanied by the hunting goddess, who, like her Greek counterpart Artemis, rides in a deer-driven chariot. Interesting. Is there anything Christian here? Let's see at the end. Oh, there's 2 pages? All right, we're not going to read this whole thing. Let's just quickly read this Christian legend now. In a Christian legend, a stag enters a thick forest in order to draw the soldier hunting it away from his comrades, so the stag can hunt the hunter while he hunts, finally confronting him with a crucifix miraculously sprouting between its antlers. That's a story of Saint... wow, I'm really blanking on his name right now. It's Saint... wow. Not Eugene. Saint... I'm so pissed I'm forgetting his name. It's one of my favorite saints. Saint Eustace! Yeah, check it out. You can see this image of Saint Eustace where he basically broke away from his hunting group, like the story just said, and he finds this deer on top of a mountain, and the deer has like a luminous cross in between its antlers. Actually, kind of an unwholesome connection, but that is the where the Jägermeister logo comes from, in case you were wondering. Nice, that was dope. That was a good detour. Okay, I'm going to quickly put this glove back on. Really quick. That fly means I have to put a fly in the painting now. Yeah, I probably should. Flies are kind of a creepy symbol, actually. Alright, real quick, I'm going to throw a deer down in here. Okay, let's do it. After all that, I'm going to paint the deer. I think it was worth it, though. Got to dig at least a little deeply into a few symbols. I actually had a really funny experience with a deer once. I'm wondering if I should tell the story or not. I don't know if I've told it before on here. Okay, really quick. Let's see. It's kind of like 2 options. It could be facing forward. I think it should just be facing forward. And I'm going to go for a little bit of a medieval look, so I don't know how much like a deer it's really going to look like. You kind of want to just drive home like it's like thinness. Boom. And we'll get the one leg up. I like to have it like it be ambiguous if it's just kind of funny. So actually, it's kind of funny. I will tell the story. I'll tell the brief version of the story while I'm painting this. So everyone knows I used to hang out with like trippy, like faux shamanic, like white people trying to be like Native American shaman groups and stuff like that. I don't like to talk about it too much anymore. I didn't want my whole shtick to become that I like used to do that. It's kind of like boring to talk about all the time. But this is kind of a funny story. One time we were with them, and like what happens is like when you're with them, sometimes you go out and do stuff like in the forest and stuff like that. And then you come back and talk about it, and people tell these stories, and it's like such bullshit, honestly. Like you'll go out in the forest for like a few days, and people will come back and like you'll have these girls and stuff being like, oh, I saw this vision of like a luminous like white feather goddess who told me like my life is about spreading light. And you're like, that didn't happen. We've been in the woods for like 2 days. You're like, that just literally didn't happen. So we were in this sweat lodge with this guy who's like a shaman. He was like this Puerto Rican like Taino guy. I'm not going to tell the whole story, but it's kind of funny. So then it got to me, and what actually happened when I was out in the woods is I was out there, right? And we were doing some stuff. It's not really important what we were doing. And I was hanging out, and I heard this noise, and this deer burst out of the brush with this baby deer and paused like right in front of me and just looked at me and then ran away. It was really awesome. It's like kind of a whole intense story, but I don't want to go into it too much right now. And it ran away, and I was like, oh, that's really cool. So the funny part is that we're in this circle, right? And all these people are telling those stories like I just told you that are like kind of bullshit. And then it got to me, and I told the guy that, the leader guy that. And I was like, yo, is there really a fucking fly on my paint palette right now? Look at this. I saw this bitch fly in here before. I had the door open while I was taking cardboard boxes out. Bro, get the fuck out of here, bro. Oh my God, this is ridiculous. I'm going to... Boom. Caught, bitch. All right, well, I'll address that later. Anyway, so I was telling the shaman that story. I was like, oh, this deer burst out of the woods. And then he was like, wait, a real deer? And I was like, yeah, because he thought I was just making it up. Anyway, that story got ruined by this fly situation, but it's okay. We got the deer here. I'm going to put in the eye over here. That's what happens when you do things live. Should I go with the sleepy eye or like the open eye? I should go with the open eye. I told the story before, but just since that story really sucked because I got interrupted by this freaking fly over here that I'm going to get rid of in like 2 seconds. The other funny part of it was that before I went out there, I've told this before on the stream, I try not to tell the same stories over and over, but I will just mention this while I get rid of this fly. It's live TV, folks, that's how you do it. My friend had just been telling me about boars and how I had to be careful about boars because they'll like attack you and gore you, and when I heard this deer coming near me, I thought it was like legit going to be a boar. And I grabbed this huge stick to get ready to fight this boar. And then it turned out it was a deer. And I felt very silly. All right, perfect. So we got this deer over here. I did show the fly mercy. I didn't kill it. It's in a jar. I'll put it outside, actually. I usually don't kill animals in here, honestly. And that's actually the first time I've ever seen a significantly sized bug in here after like 2 years. Okay. So I've got the deer over here. You truly never know what's going to happen. Okay, and I'm going to throw in the heart. That was a really good idea. So I'm actually just going to grab this bright red over here that we used before. Do you guys actually, this is an interesting question as long as we're talking in here. Do you guys feel bad when you like kill bugs in your house and stuff? Because like I do it because I'm like the guy in my house and I'm not trying to like have my wife do it. But I usually do feel bad, honestly. I usually do feel bad when I kill them. I don't know if it's like a remnant from like all the years I spent being like in the exact worldview that I just told a story about, but I feel bad when I kill them. And then I'm really torn on like whether I should or not. You know, like animals get killed in the Bible all the time. And I'm kind of like, I don't know, my attitude towards it is like when I kill a bunch of ants, I'm like, well, you know, you were cursed to die the death of an ant when God made you an ant. It's not really my fault. But at the same time, I kind of feel bad. I don't know if I should or not, though. Someone said usually. They usually feel bad. Someone said no. I'm getting the no's sometimes. I mean, I do it, don't get me wrong, but I do feel bad. Maybe it's because it's not my place. I'm not supposed to be. Okay, house centipedes. Yo, I'll fucking kill that. That is completely different. Any like crazy bug, I'll definitely kill with like no issues. I'm gonna throw a flame on this heart. Someone said sacred heart. I don't want to make it like full on like the sacred heart, like in a deer, because I feel like that is theologically dicey. But I'm gonna put a flame on this heart just to kind of give it a little bit of that flavor. It's kind of cool we saw St. Eustace right there, because I guess that does give some precedent to like a divine deer messenger kind of thing. I'm gonna have the flame coming up out of here. Yeah. Boom. Cool. And I'm just gonna shade it in a little bit. Perfect. That actually looks dope. That looks really, really tight. Oh, wait. Should I put antlers on the deer, though? Otherwise, it's a girl. Yeah, I'm going to put antlers on the deer. Should I? Should take direction from the chat, but I think I'm just going to do it. Boom. And yeah, I've actually been illustrating the St. Eustace thing for Tiny Bishop book about saints. That's like the first saint that I chose, so it's funny. I actually drew that exact deer not that long ago. It's also funny illustrating. I don't know if I've talked about this too much, but you know, I've been casually doing it for so long. I'm finally trying to just like put my head down and do it. But like a kid's book about like saint stories from the Golden Legend, this medieval book, and it's really funny because a lot of the saints, as you probably know, just get like straight up like brutally martyred at the end of their stories. And I was kind of floating like, should I like include this, or like I don't know, should I like cut the story before it gets to there? Like obviously I wouldn't like cut that out, but I can like incidentally like avoid it. And I was talking to someone on my Patreon. I was talking to him, and he just incidentally, he wasn't like telling me what to do, but he was like, yeah, I used to teach like Sunday school, and all the Christian stuff for kids is just so like saccharine sweet, and like I don't know if he said it was lame, but it's kind of what he was implying. And he was like, it's just, you need some like bloody cool stuff. So I was like, yeah, I actually am going to include that. So it's going to be cool. It's going to be kind of this cute like little kids thing. I'll put like a warning in the front, like I'm not going to blindside them. But like St. Eustace, for example, he has a whole crazy thing where like his wife gets kidnapped and his son and daughter get taken away. It's kind of like a parallel to like the to like not St. Joseph, but Joseph from the Bible story in an interesting way. And he finds his wife again and he gets his kids back and everything. And then when they all get back together, they go back into like pagan Rome. And then they get martyred and they all get loaded into this like metal bull and like set on fire. There's like a fire underneath the bull. And yeah, so I guess I'm going to put that in when I finish illustrating his story. I mean, it really happened, right? Okay, let's get it going. So we got to start wrapping this up. Not wrapping it up, but you know how I say it. We got to start like thinking about landing the plane and stuff. Yeah, the deer has two right legs up. Yeah, it does. We're medieval style though. So no one in our small village has seen a... Well, they probably have seen a deer, but it's okay. Okay, so I want to start getting us going on like, like I said, not wrapping it up, but like kind of putting in like background elements. It's looking pretty dope. What I'm thinking is we need some like background-y elements going on. So I might just throw in like sky over here and maybe like darkness over here. I think that would be dope. Oh, I was going to put a line. I'm going to start putting in some pictorial elements. Throw some more symbols at me in the chat. And then we can start landing the plane. It's actually looking pretty tight. And I am just going to throw down... Yeah, that's pretty good. I'll definitely take that. And I'm going to throw down a little bit of like the grass color underneath. So I'm going to start making it to a picture instead of like just a straight up collection of like symbols, if you know what I'm saying. Spots we have still is something could go up on this hill. Maybe I'll just leave it like that. It actually looks pretty good. I think we should get a little bit more color though. Just a tiny bit. Something could go underneath the roots. Something up over here. Could put just the sky with the sun over there. Look, I'm being such a wuss. I'm not throwing down the full color. There we go. Still not, actually. Come on. Let's do it. Yeah. There we go. That's good. Like drag it out a little bit. guess it just depends on what exactly we want to land on in terms of like ambiguity or like specificity or what. That's tight. That actually did a lot right there. It did a lot. Maybe a sun. I was thinking a sun too, man. I was thinking a sun too. What warrior aesthetic do you use for St. Michael? There's a specific Spanish painting that I base it on from the 1400s. I'll pull it up actually if you want. I know the name of it. If you hit me up on Twitter, I can tell you. Like Spanish 1300s. It's like knight's armor basically with a lot of red. Sun. People are saying sun. Actually, it's just one person. I don't know what to call you, RKD. I know your name, but I don't want to say it. So yeah, sun is tight. Yeah, let's do it. And I'm also getting approval for teaching kids about the blood of the martyrs, so that's gonna happen too. And yeah, I'll throw down some orange over here. Boom. Yeah, we'll get the fat orange sun up here. It'll be tight. Or should I use... Actually, I don't want to introduce that much orange. When I took it out here, I was like, it's a little too powerful. So I'm actually just going to use the cadmium yellow. Boom. Underground lake. Yeah, that's sick, actually. That's sick. Sun in the lake is perfect, dude. That is perfect. And then we'll start closing up shop here. This looks really sick. Okay. I'm just going to throw down yellow sun. And honestly, yeah, we're just going to put it in the corner style. It's like medieval style. I think that's where little kids get it from when they throw in the sun like this. It's like a lot of medieval pictures have like a huge sun like that. And then I'm going to put in, I'll get a little orange going on. There's also just nowhere else to put it. I'm going to put a little barrier ring. I've been doing that recently. Just a little gap like that. Boom. And instead of painting it in and filling it in, I'm just going to go for it with the brush. So instead of like drawing it out, I'm just going to see how good I can get it going with my control of the brush. That's why these nicer brushes are really good. You can see that I can really go from hair's width to full blast. If I've been painting more with them, I'd be even more in control. Cool. Boom. Yeah, I have a really cool also scroll painting project that's going to be sick. If you're enjoying the video situation, that's like the next thing I'm going to be doing. I don't think I'm going to do it live. Maybe I'll do it a little bit live, but I'm going to be recording myself making these like scroll paintings via this process that I used to do and it takes a lot of time. That looks really good. And I'll throw a little orange in over here. I'm just waiting for the last thing. I'm waiting for this muslin. I'm waiting for the cloth. I have everything else except the cloth. Otherwise I would have started today. Boom. That looks sick. Okay, what are people saying in here? What are you going to do with this painting? Will it get posted anywhere? Yeah, I'll post it eventually. 2 times people have hit me up and wanted to buy the painting afterwards. Sometimes I do that. It's not a plug. I'm not like trying to sell it to you, but I don't sell it for too much because I just like did it live in front of people. So 2 of them I sent out. Otherwise, I wrap them up in glassine. That's this paper that has no tooth and store them over here. And then, yeah, I'll post it eventually. I usually post them a few weeks later because I feel like if you've seen the final product, then you're less likely to like watch it. It's not that you're less likely, but it's kind of just like less cool watching it being made in front of you. You know what I mean? If you've already seen like where it's going, basically. But yeah, I'll post it eventually. I mean, I will scan it. If you want like a scan of it or whatever, hit me up on Twitter because I will scan it. And then eventually I'll post it. Kind of on like a few week delay. I'm going to throw in the underground lake. I thought that was a sick idea. Cool. I'm going to use the Prussian blue with the ultramarine. And then we're gonna get to be wrapping it up status. I'm gonna start throwing in some background colors. Once again, the cerulean blue would be actually, it's okay. We don't have it. I'm not gonna live in a fantasy world. Let's see how good this is. It's a good lake color. Let's get this underground lake going on. And we'll have a lot of the paper showing through, so it has like a very like watercolory effect. Cool. Nice. That's like underground lake situation. Actually, it's a really nice mix of colors there. I feel like I should have something coming out of it or going into it. Like, actually, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to put like a drop of water coming down into it. Yeah, that's tight. Just so it's 100% clear exactly what it is. I'm going to put another one over here. And as you may know, I really enjoy juxtaposing the teardrops with like drops of blood. Actually, I'm definitely going to do that right now. Yeah, I feel you, dude. None of us have money. I feel you. It's all good, man. Yeah, it's also part of why I like having the printer here, honestly. It's like, I'm trying to figure out exactly, like, I want to get... Oh, shit. I dropped some water over here. Boom. Just pick that up real quick. Nice. Good thing that looks aesthetic. Yeah, it's part of why I like printmaking and stuff, and that's why I haven't really been selling much analog art, i.e. like non-digital stuff. It's like, I like to keep things at like a reasonable price. Like these scroll paintings I'm going to make, like I don't even think I'm going to be able to sell them because it's going to take me so long to do them that then in the end I just feel like kind of a dick being like, I mean maybe I will, but you know, it's not plausible for the average person to pay someone for like 100 hours of like labor or something, so that's why it's kind of cool doing like printmaking stuff. Okay, this is going to be tight. Get the blood coming off the deer. Yeah. Nice. That is sick. Okay. Okay, and what are we thinking? What are we thinking? What if the sunbeams were arrows? Tie together the quiver of arrows? Yeah, that would have been sick. But it would have been too small, but I am going to put an arrow coming out of the sun because that is actually a good idea. And that'll kind of fill up the space, and like you said, it'll kind of marry the two things together. Perfect. Let's just come right out. Oh, I left the window closed. You guys can't even hear the birds outside. That's okay. Boom. A trick also if you're starting to do art, whether from watching this or for other reasons, is if you want to make straight lines, you got to work not with your wrist, but with your whole arm. If you move your whole arm instead of moving your wrist, you'll get the straight line effect a lot easier. Also, you can kind of brace your hand against the side of the page, and that's part of what I'm doing right now. Perfect. Perfect. That's good. That's good shit. Maybe I'll put one coming out here too. And then we're getting into like what's it called? Like medieval like mysterious alchemy drawing where like what does it mean? Like does it mean anything? Kinda. Territory in a good way. Okay, I just want some gray. I want it to be dark enough. That's perfect. We'll make nice and big. It's actually not pointy enough. Boom. Perfect. This is a cool one. I would call this kind of composition like a diptych. It's not a literal diptych. A diptych is like when you have two paintings that go next to each other. But that's the kind of like pairing it is to me. Should we put one over here? I don't know. We really got away with that. It looks good. I don't know if it'll look like too much if we put two up there. Part of me kind of feels like I should get a little... Actually, I know what I think I should do. I'm going to keep looking at the chat if anyone suggests anything else, but when you have the underground reservoir, can you make the roots tap into it? Yeah, that's dope. I'll make the middle ones tapping into it. I'm going to throw down a little bit. So if anyone wants to throw out anything else, let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to start figuring out how exactly we're gonna... Just gonna get a little bit of the sky in here. My plan was for this to be like the night sky on the bag. So just like a little bit of night in the day world up here. I'm gonna put some stars in it. It kind of also matches the... Put a little bit over here. Sort of like the night is like spilling out a little bit. It kind of matches the lake down below. Yeah, that's dope. That's dope. I'll put in the stars and stuff. I'll even probably put in a few stars in the lake. I'm going to get the roots going down into the lake. On Instagram, I came across a photographer and artist who makes biblical and anti-porn stuff in a kind of Sailor Jerry. Interesting. I'll plug the guy. It's at 1924 US. Maybe I'll check that out. I wonder why it's called that. A dinosaur? Yeah, someone suggested a dinosaur back in the day. Maybe that's why you're making that joke. One day we'll do it, though. The dinosaur just takes me out of, like, religious symbolism realm and takes me into, honestly, like, conspiracy science realm. So I do have a picture of a dinosaur on my website. But it's not what most people would expect. Cool. That's pretty dope, actually. We'll have the roots, like, reaching into this this underground lake. That's tight. Kind of like reaching for it. Almost. They're almost there. Cool. Okay. And what else was I going to do? Oh, yeah. Put these stars in. I think we're getting there. I'm just going to throw down a little, like, ambient color. And we're, like, underground. Get a little dirt going on over here. Just a little ambient color. Bit coming on over here. Yeah, this is looking dope. It's a really good one. I like how this came out so far. Okay, maybe I can also like ambient up this a little bit. Nah, the blue's too powerful. We're just gonna leave it how it is. That looks kind of good though, actually. We're gonna leave that. You could somehow thread the crown of thorns up to the top of the image with the rose. Yo, that's crazy. I'm torn about that. That's a crazy suggestion. Maybe I should though. Maybe I should. If I just tied like the thorns, maybe what I would do is just have a line coming boom between the bee and the beetle and thorn it up. That's pretty dope. I need some confirmation on that. What do other people think about that? That actually would be pretty tight. All right. Cool. Some cool Victorian takes about dinosaurs as like antediluvian monsters. Yeah, I bet so. I bet that's true. Looks like some progressive Christian stuff. Yeah, kind of a little bit. They wish they had my style. What was I doing? Oh yeah, the stars. Hey, however it looks, it's your guys' fault. You guys painted it, not me. No, I'm just kidding. It looks sick. Okay, I'm just gonna throw in some of these stars. I like that motif when like the night sky is like an element that like comes out of like a few places. Boom. So get a little bit of that in here. It's still gonna be wet up here, but it's kind of okay for us right now. Yeah, maybe it wraps around. All right, everyone's down with the thorns connecting. It'll probably be like the last thing we do. What time is it? Oh, we're right on time. I always say this, but I'm trying to make these like 2 hours. I know people are down to hang out longer. Honestly, I kind of am too, but I feel like I should have like some time spot that I shoot for at least. Okay. Boom. Get this in here. Perfect. Cool. We'll get a little bit of them out there too. Cool. I'm down with that. Put some of these around. Cool. And yeah, let's throw down this oh, you're talking about that Instagram page? That's really funny. All right. All right. Okay, let's do this thorn situation. Yeah. Okay, I think what I'm going to do is, I was worried that putting it just straight like this would then like kind of like cut everything on too much of like a Euclidean plane. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to have it come up like this. Well, I want it to be kind of like an S, right? Like, yeah, we'll do that. It's going to come up. We'll have it go behind those arrows and come back. I think that'll be sick. And then we might be done after that. Cool. Perfect. This is about the color we used last time. Okay. So I'm going to draw this up right here. I'm going to have it go in front of this one. Come up. Yeah, that was an intense moment. Nice. Cool. I can like see the chat out of the corner of my eye, kind of like popping off, but I just wanted to make sure I did that perfectly. Yeah. That's tight. Okay, I'm gonna throw some horns on this. Some thorns on this bad boy, and then I think we're looking pretty good. This is pretty sick right now. I kind of want to put in more ambient color in the back, but I feel like we landed on a really good visual situation, and I don't want to mess it up. So while I'm putting in the thorns, I'll scope the chat, see if anyone has anything else maybe they want to add or ask me or something. But then I think we're looking pretty good on this. My phone buzzed. Not important. Whenever my phone goes off during the show, I'm always just worried it's like going to be someone, like my wife being like, "Oh my God, like we can see your credit card on the stream. Like you can see your credit card in the background or something." Gonna make the thorn sharp so it has like a cool visual effect. Nice. Tight. Yeah, it's funny. Like I said, I was thinking about Crown of Thorns before. The sorrowful mysteries in the rosary are really intense. It's like easily the most intense, like, I don't know, whenever I check and I see that's like one of those days, I think it's Tuesday and Friday, I'm always like, oh, that's the vibe. The other days for the rosary are like, the resurrection, Mary's crowned Queen of Heaven, nice things, the visitation, and then sorrowful days like, boom, deal with it. Which I'm cool with. All right. But I was thinking about Crown of Thorns before. Boom. It's actually funny, while I was doing the rosary before this morning, it's like sometimes I'm like really focused on like what I'm thinking about, and sometimes I'm really not. Not because I try and be focused, but sometimes I'm not. And I just like caught myself thinking about this girl I used to know in New York, and she was this really like hardcore like party girl who like did like a ton of drugs and like hooked up with me, and like I didn't know that about her then, but then kind of like I did things with her. She hooked up with my roommate. It was kind of like one of those girls, if you know what I'm saying. And then like a few years later, then she kind of like disappeared and like dropped off the map. She was like really weird. She was really, really, really weird. And she dropped off the map. And then a few years later on Facebook, I saw her like living in some like small town somewhere. And she had a kid, and she like looked way more normal, and she like wasn't wearing like a ton of piercings and having crazy hair. And she was like a mom and like had this like super wholesome life. It was really interesting in a way. I was like, why am I thinking about this while I'm doing the rosary? And then I was like, oh, it's kind of like, it's like its own form of like resurrection and like redemption, I guess. And I'm really happy thinking about that actually for some reason. So I'm just telling you guys right now. All right. Let's see. I'm looking at this right now. Honestly, I feel like it's looking pretty dope. I don't know. I'm kind of torn because I could turn up the contrast a little bit in the background stuff, but Actually, I think it looks really good. Like, I would come in here and turn up the green contrast a little bit and turn up the brown contrast and stuff, but I don't want to like lose the focus. I don't know. Somebody's telling me to do that. I'm going to do that really quick, and then that'll probably be the last thing that we do. Just a little bit. Just to like direct the eye like a little bit more. Yeah, that's good. It's more intense over there. I got the loose effect. If you saw that, I mean, you're watching it, so I got the loose effect I was going for over here perfectly. Here it's really not as loose. You can see here, you can clearly see like the brush stroke. So I'm just gonna kind of like dig it out a little bit. Cool. And actually, I think that's all I really needed to do. I think now it's pretty obviously done to me. This looks dope. Looks dope. Okay. So this looks dope. Let's do it this way. I'll hit the chat for a second, and then I'll kind of talk about the symbolism and how this turned out, and then we'll wrap this up. Lots of stuff going on. Someone said... Okay, I'll kind of hit all these things in the chat, and then we'll wrap it up. No big deal. Someone said, how do you know that there's life after death? No big deal. Just going to wrap up the show. Quickly, I will prove that there's life after death. No, I'm not making fun of you. That's a really legit question, actually. Where is it? I can't find it. You said it somewhere. What guarantee do I have that there is life after death? You're worried about it. Well, I mean, like I said, I'm not a theologian. I'm just like a random painter. I don't even know if you're asking me or someone in the chat, but it's not really something I worry about, honestly. For me, like, people describe it as like faith, but I really do feel like you can logically reason out that the universe has a creator, and also that morality in some way comes from like at least a higher intelligence. If you're sugarcoating that, like, obviously it's God, right? You can say it's like a higher intelligence. So for me, those two facts together paint like a very like positive picture. I mean, like, if it's obvious that someone created life on Earth, and then it's obvious that somehow that intelligence has some interest in what humans do, which would be why there is morality like that, it kind of makes sense that there would be some like, you know, program or something. I don't mean program like a computer program, just to be clear. I mean program like something that happens after death, right? I don't really think we're just like left hanging, basically. I mean, there's a faith element, I guess, if you're like, well, there's a faith element, I guess, if you start to think like, well, you know, which eventually most people do. I suppose I do, that like, well, you know, maybe it's like this, maybe this happens, or X, Y, and Z. But I think you can 100% be standing on firmly logical and reasoning, rational territory to reason out that like what I just said, like someone created life on Earth. Morality isn't a human construct, so therefore whatever created life has some moral code. And then if that's the case, I mean, if whatever created us has a moral code, then I don't think we're going to be left hanging when we die. That's basically the shortest answer I could possibly give to that. We could really go off on a whole thing about that, which would probably be pretty cool. But that would be my short answer. You can ask me more about why I'm like 100% sure that, you know, something created life on Earth and the morality thing if you want. I could go into it, I guess. But I think you can reason out those two things totally and be standing on firmly like rational ground. Thinking about the coronation of Mary should be extremely terrifying, since if you're looking at heaven, you're going to be looking at all the angels too. Yeah, I mean, it's true. There's like a terrifying aspect to it for sure. Wouldn't a stag beetle work better with a crown of thorns? Yeah. Like wearing it? Yeah, that would be tight. Wow, that's really wholesome, Owen. That girl? Yeah, I know. It's a good story, right? It's a good story. I know. It's really wholesome. Someone should make a screensaver program that automatically generates combination of symbols and puts them on the lock screen. Yeah, that would be tight, actually. Random urban environments. Okay, that's pretty much the whole chat. Cool. All right, yeah, so a little recap, and then we'll close this thing up. This turned out really dope. I really like how it kind of just naturally like comes together. For me, yeah, we kind of have like naturally like the above ground, below ground thing, beetle and bee, kind of like set that off. That has a whole like symbolic matrix associated with it for sure, where we have like flying wings, kind of ties in with like the heavens and like the higher realms. These trees are kind of like reaching up, and then below we have like this contained like night sky and the roots and everything. So I guess that's really what this came down to for me, is like the dichotomy between like the above and the below. I really like the rose and ball of thorns. That's really an awesome dichotomy, because in a way it's like the positive aspect and like the negative aspect. Like you have the positivity of like, it's even a white rose, so like white rose is like purity, right? But then, of course, the rose is tethered to its thorns. So you have like the above and below, like symbolism of that. Even the sun and the lake kind of go together in like a weird way. And then in the middle, we have this like, it's kind of interesting because they're like stocked arrows. They're like in a quiver. And they're kind of like aggressively chasing this white deer with the heart. I guess I'm just kind of recapping everything that happened, but yeah, I think this is really dope. Also, normally I would never, just in terms of picture composition, I would never, ever cut the picture in half like this. I would never do that. I think when you do that, you kind of start playing this weird game where like either the top and bottom are balanced and then the picture is really static, or they're not balanced and then you have this weird like effect. So normally I wouldn't do that, but I think it really works here. Maybe it's because everything else is so like busy and loud and has its own solid place that the halfway cut works. But yeah, I think this one turned out really dope. Good job, guys. We're 2 for 2 on the crowdsource symbol edition. I'm going to stop calling it crowdsource because that makes it sound like I'm like a corporation, like crowdsourcing. So we're going to call it collective, council, more C's or something. We'll figure it out. That's basically it. I'm looking at the chat. Everyone's down. Word up, guys. Cool. Well, yeah, thanks a lot for coming through, especially for this kind of episode where I need you. And you're almost more of what's going on than I am, in a way. So that's dope. I'm really glad people are into this, honestly. It's really cool. Sometimes people hit me up on Twitter and they're like, oh, yeah, I was watching the stream, and that's really awesome. I always joke, there's a story I heard once where like this LA radio DJ, like basically in LA, he like told a bunch of people to go put forks on the mayor's lawn, and they actually did it. And he was like, whoa, people are actually out there like listening to me. It's always how I feel. Like I'm like, oh, I'm not just like in my room talking to myself. So that's dope, man. I feel like the show's just getting better and better. People are into it. That's really it, man. Otherwise, art studio side, I'm still honestly, since you watched the whole thing, I don't like to like say this all the time, but I feel like I do. Like I'm still a little clogged up with all the work I took on. So in like a week or two, it's going to be like trebuchet, like removing the dam, just like so much stuff like flowing out of the studio. I got a lot of really cool stuff going on. Actually, if you watch the whole thing, I'll show you one last thing. Hold on 1 second. So normally I keep the kind of like sketchbook thing like locked down for Patreon because like that's just where I post it. This isn't a plug. I'm just letting you know why I don't normally post like random drawings and stuff. But I did this drawing for this guy, so it's kind of a little. I'll end this with this little tale. So coronavirus is like really messing up my shirt situation. It's taking forever for people to get stuff, and normally it doesn't really matter. I mean, you know, whatever. Someone orders a shirt, it gets there in like a 3-4 weeks. I guess it's not that big a deal. It sucks, but what can I do about it? They're pretty understanding. But this guy hit me up and was like, hey, my friend's getting married and I want to give him this shirt. Is it going to get there? And he ordered it within a very reasonable time where without coronavirus it would have gotten there. But now it's not. So I was like, oh, it's not. And I felt kind of bad. I didn't want to just like leave him hanging. Like whenever I interact with people like business-wise, not business, but like money-wise, I want them to have like a positive interaction. So I was like, yo, I'll just send you this drawing. I'll send you a drawing. So I drew this picture. So this guy's getting married. I don't even know this guy, but I'm sure he's cool. So I drew this picture, and it's kind of a riff on, if you saw on Twitter when I got married, I drew this picture of me and my wife where like there's a guy and a girl, and they're like together as like one flesh. They have like one heart and one brain, and they even have like the male-female crown. And then below them is this castle, and I kind of put in these like sort of like positive like wedding symbols. Like there's an egg, and the egg hatches because they should have kids, right? It's kind of the whole point. Got the earthy tree and the palm tree. We talked about different kind of trees before. I got these little pomegranates in here. I've been using these did I only put them 2? Yeah. I've been using these little pomegranates as kind of like a flourish. And then things about like, stuff developing over time, which I feel like is like intrinsic to like a relationship. Like you got the grapes into wine. I mentioned this before with the sprout, with the big roots. And then we got the lily. It's like on the girl side. Lily's like Virgin Mary, like purity flower. Then we got the vine. This vine is like a motif I started using when I was doing the ink drawings. So this is drawn with like a metal pen tip, sort of like a quill pen if you imagine like an older pen. And the vine really suits the metal pen tip. And Jesus has the vine and like vine like growing and developing. So yeah, it's kind of a bonus. Just thought I would show you guys. That's the stream. All right, cool. So thanks for hanging out, guys. And thanks for being down with the vibe. Thanks for hanging out online. Thanks for everything you do to help with the spiritual warfare battle unfolding on multiple levels and multiple planes, but that's something we'll have to discuss another time. Thanks for tuning in, guys. And I'm going to end this right now, and I will talk to you guys later on.